Hello, and welcome to the channel Geomancy Earth Astrology. My name is Ron. This channel is focused on the casting and interpreting of geomancy charts, with a focus on the charts of nations, which is called Mundane Geomancy. Today I'll be casting and interpreting a chart on what will be the state of Lebanon for the month of May 2026. The nation had a brutal month of April. Let's see how it'll fare in May. Now, for those who are not familiar with geomancy, there are 3 brief introductory videos on this channel that will help to orient you. They are: what is geomancy, geomancy and astrology, and mundane geomancy. And just to be clear, this video does not provide commentary on political or religious matters, nor does it provide advice on health or financial matters. I simply look at patterns that are produced randomly and interpret them using a combination of geomantic tradition, my own experience with geomancy, and my intuition. All videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. And for those who have subscribed to my channel, many thanks. That being said, let's get started. I'll pause a moment to relax myself and get in touch with Anima Mundi, the soul of the world, before I shuffle the regular playing cards to produce the 4 mother figures of this reading. So, this is what we have for this reading. The first mother, we have red, black, black, red, which means 1 dot, 2 dots, 2 dots, 1 dot. 1 dot, 2 dots, 2 dots, 1 dot. That's the figure cursor. For the second mother, we have 2 dots, 1 dot, 2 dots, 1 dot, which is black, red, black, red. So you've got 2 dots, 1 dot, 2 dots, 1 dot. That's the figure acquisitio. For the third mother, we have red, 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 black, which is 1 dot, 1 dot, 1 dot, 2 dots. 1 dot, 1 dot, 1 dot, 2 dots. That's the figure cauda draconis. And for the fourth mother, we have black, 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 red, which means 2 dots, 2 dots, 2 dots, 1 dot. 2 dots, 2 dots, 2 dots, 1 dot, which is the figure tristitia. So these are the 4 mothers, which I'll now use to populate the entire shield chart, as well as the house chart. I'll be doing this in high speed. And if you're not familiar with this process, you may want to watch my video on what is geomancy. All right, time to look at the shield chart and the house chart and to interpret the figures in each. First of all, we'll take a high look at what figures there are in the shield chart and which figures are not present. So we have a total of actually 12 of the 16 geomantic figures are present in this chart. So there's not a lot of duplications. There's a lot of actors on the stage, shall we say. So let's just see who they are. So again, we have as the first mother, cursor, second mother, acquisitio, third mother, cauda draconis, fourth mother, tristitia. The first daughter is amisio, the second daughter is conjunctio, the third daughter is albus, and the fourth daughter is puer. The first niece is Fortuna Minor. The second niece is Via. The third niece is Fortuna Minor. And the fourth niece is Via. In the court we have as the right and left witnesses, both are Fortuna Major, and the judge is Populus. Finally, the reconciler figure, which is the first mother added to the judge, is Carcer. So as previously mentioned, there's not a lot of duplications, but we do have a couple of them. So and it's pretty obvious they're all on the same line, or lines. So we have Fortuna Minor here and here, so it's twice, and Via here and here twice. And then we have two occurrences of Fortuna Major. Now the figures that are not present in this reading are Puella, Rubeus, Laetitia, and Caput Draconis. And usually Laetitia and Caput Draconis are favorable figures, Rubeus is a horrible figure, and Puella is good in most things. So on the balance, you could say we may have a few more negative figures and positive figures in this particular chart. If we look at things through a planetary lens, what we have are 4 figures of the sun present in this chart. Fortuna Minor here and here, and Fortuna Major here and here. This is the sort of planetary energy that is most prominent in this chart. The second most common planetary figure is the moon. We have Via here and here, and Populus as a judge. All other planets are present, at least 1 or 2 incidents. We have Mars once with Puer. We have Venus once with Puella. Where is she? No, we don't have Puella, sorry. Amicio, right here. We have Mercury twice with Conjunctio here and Albus here. We have Jupiter once with Acquisitio here. And we have 2 figures of Saturn. We have Carcer here and Tristitia here. And then we do have 1 node of the moon, Cauda Draconis, here. So that rounds it out. Again, all planetary energies are present, at least to some degree, but the solar energy and the lunar energy are most prominent in this chart. So we'll move on to interpreting the court. This is again the answer to the question, what will be the state of Lebanon in May 2026? This is a very high level general answer. We have as the right witness Fortuna Major. This is a generally positive figure, and it indicates to me that Lebanon in the past and the recent past has been standing its ground as much as possible. It is a figure of achievement, but through patience and persistence. If you look at it as a pictogram, it's almost like a river flowing through the steep sides of a valley that it's gradually, slowly over eons eroded its way through the valley. We have the same figure for the left witness, which means events coming to Lebanon will be of a similar nature. It is a very favorable figure for success, but it is hard-won success, and it will not come quickly or easily. But once you've got it, it stays because you've worked hard for it. And therefore, with the 2 witness figures being identical, inevitably the judge is going to be Populus, which means little change from the past. So as things were in April, it'll probably be kind of the same in May, which is sort of unfortunate in that April was a ghastly month for Lebanon. A lot of war, a lot of violence, villages destroyed, things like that. So it looks like we can anticipate more or less more of the same in May. That doesn't necessarily mean that Lebanon will be defeated militarily or overtaken or anything like that, but it means that the hard struggles that they've been going through with some success will probably continue. And how will the people of Lebanon see the month of May? The figure is Karser, which is one of hardship. So they will see it as being a hard month to get through. Not impossible, but hard. All right, we will turn to the house chart now and see what the figures say there. We have Karser as a figure in the first house. This is the house in Mundane Geomancy representing the people's health and well-being. This is not a favorable figure. I would say that it probably means that the public will be sort of turned inward, perhaps sad, great pain is possible. So it's not a good figure to have, but if you look at it as a picture, it's almost like a shield. If you look in old-time sword and shield and spear warfare, shields are very important, right, for protection. So I see it as being kind of that for the people, that they will have their inner shields going on, and that helps them to go through what they need to for the month. Here we have in the second house the figure Acquisitio. This is the house of treasury, banks, and trade. To be honest, I'm surprised to see this figure, but this is what there is. Acquisitio literally means gain, to acquire something. So what it says to me is it is actually good for the nation financially. There could be significant gains through trade and in the financial sector. So how this will happen, I have no idea. Perhaps they have friends in important places, other nations that can spare the money. I don't know for sure, but this is a figure you can't really indicate the opposite. It is a very favorable figure for the nation financially. The third house, we have the figure Cauda Draconis. This is the house of media, transportation, that is short or local transportation, the education system, and the neighboring nations. Cauda Draconis is an unfavorable figure in just about everything, unless they're trying to get rid of something. So I'd say it's an unfavorable figure, an ill figure in this house. I see it as possibly mean misleading media, misinformation of a sort. There's also possibility of dangers during travel. It's a figure associated with accidents and things of that nature. So it's probably not a safe month for people to travel in Lebanon. And it's also a figure of bad neighbors, possibly worsening situation with the neighbors. One obvious neighbor is Israel, but that's not the only neighbor. It does have Syria to the east and Turkey to the north. So it's a no-brainer in terms of Israel. In terms of his other neighbors, I can't say for sure, but in general, not good relations with its neighbors. Fourth house, we have the figure Tristitia. Fourth house in Mundane Geomancy deals with things that are underground, mining, oil, gas. It's also the property market and natural disasters. I see this as being an unfavorable figure in this particular chart. It just has that feeling. Tristitia can be good in things associated with land, but I don't feel that for this one. It could mean possible reduction in oil and gas supplies or production. I believe there are some gas fields Lebanon has, fairly minor perhaps. They'll have problems with it, or from shipments. Tristitia means sorrow, it means reduction in things, so it's not a favorable figure for that. And for traditional geomancers often said that this figure in this house means that the land is consumed, which is not a favorable thing. So perhaps the Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon will continue. Perhaps they'll even, at least in the short term, take more land or destroy more villages. That's a definite possibility with this figure in this house for me. The fifth house, we have the figure Amisio. Fifth house deals with the arts, sports, entertainment in general, enjoyments, as well as the birth rate and speculation. Amisio means loss. It's one where I would say it could mean that the Lebanese people have little interest or time and attention for enjoyments of life. They're trying to survive. Sixth house, we have the figure Conjunctio. This is the house associated with agriculture, food reserves, as well as the working class and military in mundane geomancy. I see this as being a mixed figure in this house. Conjunctio is often a sort of neutral figure in many indicators. What came to mind when I thought of food was corruption of foodstuffs. Conjunctio is not a figure of purity, it's the opposite. So perhaps if there are food shortages, there may be ways in which trying to extend the food supply by mixing inferior things with superior things. I can't say for sure, but that's just what came to mind intuitively, so I'm sticking with it. It could also mean a sort of cooperation, excuse me, between working class and the military, or the military getting some sort of help or cooperation with others. The seventh house, we have the figure Albus. This is the house associated with public enemies, as well as the marriage rate and international relations. Now, Albus is generally a good figure, but it's not a strong figure. It's sort of goes along with the crowd, can sometimes provide good advice, but it's not a figure of action. It's more a figure of contemplation, of wisdom and good guidance. I see in the seventh house that it is a good figure, especially when you're talking about enemies. It means your enemies are weak. They're more thinking than acting. It's also good for international support, especially sort of smart support, not necessarily military support, but good advice, sharing of information, things like that. It can be good with its international relations. It's also possibly an indicator of an agreement. The old geomancers said that when you have this figure in this house, if you're looking for a contract or agreement of some sort, this is a good figure to have. So just keeping it out there. Perhaps there'll be some sort of agreement between Lebanon and Israel. Not sure. I'm not sure if it's worth the paper it's written on, but anyway, this is what it could be indicating. Eighth house, we have the figure Puer. This is the house of national debt, dangers to the public, and death rate. Puer is not a figure I like to see in this house. And so I'd say that it is an ill figure here. It can mean rash spending or things of that nature. It's also an indicator of dangers, especially of a violent nature, violent deaths, deaths to young military age males. This is what it indicates to me. Hope I'm wrong, but this is what it quite often is associated with. The ninth house, we have the figure Fortuna Minor. This is the house of laws, shipping industry, religion, universities, and higher education in mundane geomancy. This is a kind of mixed figure. It usually means for shipping, hardships. It could take longer than expected. There could be some problems with shipping. Not so much delays, but some sort of problems in getting through. But it is a good figure for religion. Religious life is probably important in Lebanon. I know there are various practicing faiths there, and people will be able to hold on to their faith. They'll be encouraged by it. That's the way I see this figure having a meaning in the ninth house. In the 10th house, there's a figure Via. This is the figure of the government that's in power, the nation's prestige and influence. Via is often a neutral figure. It generally means change, not necessarily change for the better or for the worse, but definitely change, like a flowing river. You can't stop it. It could mean that the government will be seeking peace. based on this, a change, not necessarily change in the leadership, but change in approach, and perhaps the Lebanese government will be seeking some form of peace. It's also a good figure for the country's reputation, so it's kind of a neutral figure, but more on the good side than the bad side. So that's the way I'm reading this. The 11th house is Fortuna Minor. This is a house of parliament, hopes of the nation, as well as friendly nations. This again is a sort of neutral figure. A Fortuna Minor can be good for some things, but it's usually unstable, sort of like a fair weather friend. But I would say that it can mean an unstable parliament. It is an unstable figure, and definitely for hopes, it is not a good figure. But it is supposedly a good figure for friends. At least traditionally, it is considered to be good that way. So help may be provided by certain friends, friendly nations. So that way, it's a bit of a neutral or mixed figure, I'd say, in this house. Not great, not horrible. On to the 12th house, we have the figure Via. This is in mundane geomancy, the house associated with hospitals, prisons, institutions that, excuse me, limit access for people. It's constraining institutions. It's also the welfare state and secret movements, possible enemies that are not necessarily visible or apparent to the public. This is a mixed figure. I see it as meaning that hospitals may be very busy. In times of war, that's very often the case. And but it could mean that the secret movements are in retreat. Via is, again, movement, change. So that way it's good in terms of enemies not being much of a problem, but it's unfavorable in terms of the hospitals having to serve a large population. So such a large number of different figures in the house chart. Of course, there's not many duplications, but let's just look at them and see what that might mean. Because sometimes there is a connection. There is Fortuna Minor in the 9th house and 11th house. I see it as possibly meaning that religion will be important in Parliament and hopes. I believe there are certain sort of seats reserved for different religions, if I recall correctly. Perhaps it could mean divisions are apparent, religious divisions within Parliament. Not totally sure about that, but there will be a religious element to that, as well as perhaps for the hopes of the people of Lebanon. And the other connection is possibly between the 10th house and the 12th house. To me, it means that quite possibly the government will take direct control or be providing a lot of assistance to hospitals or be very active in driving out hidden enemies. So that's the house chart as a whole. We'll just see how things may work out in terms of the timing of the month. The beginning of the month with the 1st house, the 10th house meaning the middle. 7th house meaning close to the end of the month, and sort of the aftermath is the 4th house. So when we look at the beginning of the month, we have the figure Carcer, which means that May can start with hardships and difficulties. Towards the middle, I'd expect there to be certain changes going on. Predictable changes, I would expect, because Via is a more predictable sort of change indicator than unpredictable. We have the figure of peace near the end of the month, so hopefully before May winds down, the current conflict within Lebanon will settle down and they'll be able to put it behind them. The aftermath is Tristitia. I see that as being an indicator that there's a lot of work to be done, rebuilding, because the southern part of the nation has been ravaged. And so that's the way I look at it. Now that the fighting perhaps has stopped, they can look at removing the rubble, rebuilding. That's the sort of feeling I have for the way time will flow in Lebanon for the month of May. So that's pretty much all that I can see and comment on for this particular chart. So I thank you all for watching. If you found it enjoyable, definitely give me a like or share, leave a comment. So thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.